What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here live for more NFL tiers. This time, our quarterback tiers list entering the 2022 NFL season. I am going to put your favorite quarterback, your team's favorite quarterback, in a tier. We have many different tiers, spanning from the elite of the elite to the worst of the worst. So in this video, I'm going to give you my honest take, my honest opinion on where your quarterback belongs. Is he great? Can he carry your team to success? Does he stink? Do you need to improve at that position? Or is he just okay? So before I break down my quarterback tiers and give you my quarterback tiers, make sure that you do spike that like button. And if we get 100 likes, I will rank the skill groups of every NFL team. The skill groups, the weaponry. We saw Tyreek Hill go to the Miami Dolphins. Good opportunity to rank the running backs, wide receivers, tight ends of every team. So if you get me 100 likes on this video, I'll be sure to deliver the skill groups, ranking them in tiers from elite to bad. Okay, before we get started, guys, I do want to give you a heads up that right now, Underdog Fantasy, link is in the description, is actually running a really cool thing right now for March Madness. You can 40 times your money on Underdog Fantasy Pick'ems right now. So check out Underdog Fantasy. Link is in the description. I usually don't throw them out there at this time of the year, but I saw that in my email and I was like, whoa, that's a pretty cool deal, and I'm going to get in on that myself. So make sure to check out Underdog Fantasy. That link is in the description below. 40 times your money on those pick'ems. That's pretty awesome in my opinion. So if you're into March Madness especially, it's a good time to head over to Underdog Fantasy. You can use the code BLV when you sign up. All right? Make sure that you do use that code BLV when you sign up. All right. Also, you could follow me, as you saw there on the screen, at BottomLineView on Instagram, at Mitch Milani on Twitter. I've been reacting all day on Twitter to all the different moves, including Tyreek Hill and Malcolm Butler coming back to my Patriots. So if you're interested in my quick thoughts when stuff breaks, then definitely follow me on the Twitter. Okay. Remember, guys, 100 likes for the skill groups. That will be the next tier rankings if you guys break 100 likes. Okay, let's share the screen and let's rank some quarterbacks, baby. What's going on, everybody in the chat? Let's say hello to my people. We've got Jeremy in the chat. We've got Mr. Tua himself, Kevin Durkant, who says Tua better be tier 1. Basketball and Football Moment says hi. What's up, man? Hector says, what's up, bro? From Raider Nation. I'm sure a lot of Raiders fans, they back their guy, Derek Carr. They're going to be intrigued to see where I put Derek Carr. Lego Maego is in the chat. The Chiefs fan himself. Zeke says, Mitch, sup, baby? What's up, Zeke? How you doing, man? Aaron Arages, I'm going to rank him. Tyree says, sup, Mitch? What's up, Tyree? Thanks for joining here. Thanks for all of you for joining me here live. If you are joining me live, definitely get in the chat and let me know how you're feeling, how you're doing, and I will definitely give you a quick shout. So if you have any questions, let me know. How many jerseys do I have? Too many. Sarah says, I'm happy we got Matty Ice. Yes, Sarah, the Colts have a new quarterback, Matty Ice. He is actually on the thumbnail of this video. Let's rock. Okay, let's start off with Deshaun Watson. What a way to start off. I had to actually make this tier list because it wasn't available with all the quarterbacks that I wanted to rank. So let's quickly go through it, right? We've got 34 quarterbacks here, okay? 34. So there are 32 starting quarterbacks, but 34 quarterbacks that I believe could start this year. So if you're wondering who the other two quarterbacks are, I have a starter, the projected starter for every team. This does not obviously include the draft class. You have Baker Mayfield, still on Cleveland, trying to find a new home. I think at one point he will rather start or become a starter of a team this season. and Jimmy Garoppolo is the other. So I've included Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance on this tier ranking just in case one of them is the starter San Francisco and Jimmy G goes elsewhere or whatever. So I've just included the max amount that I think would actually make sense for this tier list. Now, in terms of the tiers, I've got elite. So this is the best of the best of the best. This is probably the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL, but the guys that I think are basically, no matter the situation, are going to perform. No matter the situation, are going to be able to carry a football team to success and are every single season basically an MVP candidate and a playoff threat. Very good are players that are very close to elite, but they're maybe a little bit more inconsistent. They can have elite seasons, but they're not always in that category. Very good also, there might be something skill set wise that is holding them back from being truly elite, maybe physically, maybe mentally, something. Maybe they're too young, I'm not sure, but something is holding them back from being elite. Maybe their track record isn't as good as those elite guys. Good are the guys that are going to give you above average play basically every single season, but they're never going to cross into the areas of being an MVP player, an elite player. They're going to give you good statistical production in a good system with a good team. These guys are probably inconsistent from a winning perspective, but everyone realizes that they do have a lot of raw tools and tools to be successful as a quarterback. And some of them might be mentally stronger. Some of them might be physically stronger. There's going to be a wide variety of quarterbacks in that category. Average is basically like the quarterbacks that if they're on a bad team, they're not going to be very good. They're going to be bad. And then if they're on a good team, they're going to be probably productive and good. These guys are heavily dependent on the system around them to be successful. And they pretty much are never going to be anywhere near an MVP conversation, but everyone realizes that you could do better at this position, but you could also do worse. The below average are the guys that maybe are a little bit raw, maybe they're younger, they're potentially guys who could get better, but are still a far ways away from being good or even considered average because we still don't know. So a lot of them are projects or unknown qualities and unknown players in this league. Bad is just these guys stink. Not necessarily stink, that's kind of mean, but these guys aren't really good starting quarterbacks, and everyone realizes that they aren't really the long-term solution for this football team. I think that's the best way to put it. They're not franchise quarterbacks, and nobody sees them as franchise quarterbacks. So that's the bad category. All right. Let's begin with Deshaun Watson, which I think is a great way to begin because he is obviously highly controversial right off the top. I think there's going to be people that believe that Deshaun Watson should belong in the elite category. And there's also going to be people that believe that Deshaun Watson might be a tad overrated. He hasn't played in a season. Last time he did play in a season, he was 4-12. So I belong somewhere in the middle. And of course, we're only evaluating the player, the quarterback, Deshaun Watson. I'm not evaluating anything other than that, so don't get on me for my placement with him or anybody else. But Deshaun Watson physically is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He can run and scramble at pretty close to an elite level. He's not Lamar Jackson or Kyler Murray, but he's on that second tier of guys that can move around and run and scramble and make plays with his feet. He can move to avoid the rush. He's very good at playmaking and just making something happen out of nothing. He's very good at that. He has a pretty strong arm. I wouldn't consider him to have a top 5 arm, but he's somewhere in the top 10. His accuracy, I would say, is honestly better the deeper he goes down the field. I think he's a good deep passer with great deep touch, but he does become a little bit more inconsistent on his short and intermediate throws, especially with his mechanics when he's having to kind of adjust his mechanics in the pocket and move around with his feet. Sometimes his upper body and lower body can become a little bit misaligned, so to speak. So I feel like Deshaun could still actually refine his accuracy and his mechanics to become even more consistent of a passer. But pretty much Deshaun is really good in almost every category. As a thinker of the position, I think he's maybe a little bit above average. He's a really good decision maker, but sometimes he can hone in on one receiver and one target, and he doesn't really see the field like the elite thinkers do, but he's not necessarily like bad either. So I think that Deshaun Watson is in the very good tier. I think he's close to being elite. I think he, though, has definitely shown that he's not like somebody that without a shadow of a doubt, no matter who he's surrounded by, he's going to win 10 games. Like, he certainly had seasons, his last season in the NFL, he won 4 games, which I think was the same amount that the Texans won this year, or at least it was really close. So he's had a lot of success, but he's also, from a winning perspective, not always done it consistently like some of the other elite players. But I do believe his talent is immense, and his talent is amongst the best in the NFL. The other thing holding him back from being elite, we haven't seen him in a full season, so I'm not sure how that's going to affect him. But Deshaun Watson is very, very good, and I would say he's one of the better playmaking quarterbacks in the NFL, but playmaking is not the only thing that makes a great quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo is pretty much smack dab average in this league. Jimmy Garoppolo is, I would say, one of the quickest releases in the game. Very accurate from a short and intermediate level, especially in the middle of the field. He does have a history and a track record of winning football games, which does matter to me. He's known as a good leader and a great teammate. He definitely brings a swagger to a football team, a confidence, and that is definitely shown throughout his time with the San Francisco 49ers, as he typically elevates their level of play. As much as you say that maybe physically he doesn't have it all, at least from that standpoint, he is really, really strong. Players follow him. Players want to play for him, and that does matter to me. Now, I do think Jimmy can become a little bit erratic with his mechanics, especially when it comes to trying to throw the football past 15 to 20 yards. He also, I think, is probably a worse decision maker than people realize. I think a lot of his mistakes are on him, and the offense a lot of times hides his bad plays because it's such a good offense, and they don't ask him to make a lot of big-time throws. So that definitely limits his potential turnovers that you might see in a different system. So Jimmy is somebody that I like. I think you can win, and that has been proven with him. And I think some of the things that he does do very well, he does at a very high level, like his release. But I do think that under pressure is a concern. He's not going to escape pressure and make plays on the move. He doesn't have a superb, strong arm. It's lackluster. I would say it's a below average arm. And his injuries are certainly a concern. So there's things that I like, and there's also things that I don't like. And I would take him over quite a few quarterbacks, but I would also take quite a few quarterbacks above him as well. He's also very handsome, so that helps. Ryan Tannehill is next. Ryan Tannehill is interesting. I think he's also in the average category. I think that Ryan Tannehill is more athletically gifted than Jimmy Garoppolo. I think that obviously he's faster. He can move better. I think his arm is better as well. So Tannehill has probably, from an individual perspective, shown more than Jimmy G. And he has been fairly successful winning games with the Titans as well. But just like Jimmy, he's been sort of a product of his team and offense, as he has benefited greatly from Derrick Henry and the offense and the running game around him. So I do think Tannehill kind of low-key has a very good ability to play off play action, and his deep ball is pretty good a lot of the times. But I do see his deficiencies oftentimes when he's a drop back passer. I think Jimmy is a better drop back passer than Tannehill is. He's more accurate. He's more decisive with the football. His location of the football is better. I think that Tannehill is a better play action player and a better extender of the play and playmaker, but I think Jimmy is smarter and that sort of stuff. So I feel like Tannehill, he is exposed when he has to become the main area and the main focus of the offense. When he has to drop back consistently and make throws, he is exposed by the defense, and we saw that in the playoffs for sure. I do think, though, that he has been a little underrated throughout his career, especially his time in Miami, and then a little bit early on in Tennessee, but then I think he got spiked up and overrated a little bit because he's always had the physical tools, but I think mentally he's still missing something, and I do think that his consistency as a passer is certainly still not all the way there. So Tannehill and Jimmy are about the same player to me. I think, Tannehill's better physically. Jimmy is probably better mentally. And I think Jimmy is more accurate, but Tannehill's more athletic. So Tom Brady is next up, and this one is kind of obvious. Obviously, he belongs in the bad tier. He's only the greatest quarterback ever to play. No, I'm just kidding. He's elite. In my opinion, Tom Brady was the MVP of the NFL in 2021 and the best quarterback in the NFL in 2021. Still at 4,000 years old. Tom Brady has great pocket presence. He's the smartest quarterback in the NFL. He's the best situationally understanding what he has to do in the moment, whether that's thread the ball through a needle to make a play or throw the ball away. Tom Brady always makes the best decision for his football team in order to win the game. He's extremely accurate, deep, short, and intermediate, and honestly, his deep ball might have improved over the last couple of years as he has thrown some of the deepest passes in the NFL consistently with the Tampa Bay offense. Tom Brady, this is what people may not notice about Tom Brady, is that even though he is not fast or athletic, Tom Brady is basically in the most difficult passing offense in the NFL, and moving from New England to Tampa Bay, it's totally different, and yet he has been absolutely successful in his ability to place the football accurately on time and make plays with his arm. No quarterback makes more plays with his right arm than Tom Brady does, and that is why he is elite. So Brady still has the arm strength, the accuracy, and the brain to be in that top tier, and is arguably still the best quarterback in the NFL, on top of being probably the most clutch quarterback in the NFL still. So even though he's not fast, or he's not going to run away from you, he does everything else at an extremely high level, and a higher level than most. Russell Wilson is next. Russell Wilson I would put in the very good category. I think him and Deshaun Watson are very, very, very similar. Both players, I think, get sacked pretty often, and they invite pressure, right? Tom Brady, something that he's also great at, is he doesn't invite pressure. He gets rid of the football and protects his offensive line, and that therefore helps the rhythm and consistency of the offense stay on time, which is something that a lot of people, when they just casually watch the sport, don't understand. Players like Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson will make big, dramatic, amazing, spectacular, highlight reel plays, but their consistency is why they are not truly elite players, because they, at times, like I said, will invite pressure and get sacked. They will have erratic throws. They'll miss their target. They'll hold on to the ball too long, which will cause them to throw the ball away. They won't always see the right player to throw to. But when you talk about Russell Wilson, what is he great at? Well, he is phenomenal throwing the deep ball. He is one of the best improvisers in the sport. His lower body is still unbelievable with how he can maneuver the pocket, turn in the pocket, slip defenders, still keeping his eyes down the field and escaping sacks and making throws. My problem with Russ, which I'm not sure if this is a system offense problem or a Russ problem, I'm not sure, but he seems to be almost wanting to be in a outside structure offense as opposed to remaining in the structure of the offense and continuing the rhythm of the play and the rhythm of the drive and the rhythm of the offense. But yeah, I think he's accurate mostly, especially down the field. He's a great touch passer, especially. He can move. And Russ has pretty much everything that you want. It's just those things that become a bit erratic when you see Russ play bad. They're exposed to like the absolute ends of the earth where you can, when he plays bad, it's obvious. So Russell Wilson is in the very, very good category. Justin Herbert this one's interesting. Justin Herbert is almost like between elite and very good. Personally, I think that Justin Herbert is closer to the elite category, so that's where I'm going to put him. Justin Herbert, I really like as a football player. I think, obviously, he has a fantastic arm. I think his arm is one of the top 3 or 4 in the NFL. His arm strength's phenomenal, and he can deliver it from a multitude of different platforms and situationally when it comes to in the pocket, out of the pocket, escaping pressure, getting hit. He is phenomenal under pressure, making a throw while he's getting hit. He's also more accurate, I would say, consistently than Deshaun Watson or Russell Wilson. And he can make throws at every level. He can make every throw in the game. The only areas I see deficiencies with Herbert is I think his delivery is a bit long. His release isn't super fast, and I do think that his brain still isn't quite where some of these older quarterbacks are. I still see that before the play, like at the line of scrimmage, he doesn't really sometimes pick up dramatic and creative blitzing schemes and coverage schemes. Sometimes he can become confused. But when it comes to just physically as a player, he's just about perfect because he can run, he's big, he can take hits, he can make all the throws, and yeah, like fit in any offense and succeed in any offense. I think he also has had to overcome a lot with his team, whether it's a bad defense, a bad offensive line, just generally bad coaching throughout his tenure, but he's only getting better, and that's why I put him in the elite category. Our boy, Mac Jones. My guy, Mac Jones, who I was very bold on and bullish on throughout the draft process as a quarterback that was my favorite in the 2021 NFL draft and is now my starting quarterback for my favorite team. I think that Mac Jones is, I would say right now, he's probably average. I think that he's probably average right now, but I think he's going to get better this year and probably will elevate himself into the good category this season. Somewhere in that range. You could almost call him pretty good, I would say. But Mac I think his rookie inconsistencies keep him back from being good. I think that Mac Jones is about the 15th, 14th best quarterback in the NFL. So he's, I guess, slightly above average in a similar category to Ryan Tannehill. I think that Mac is extremely smart for his age. Extremely smart for his age. He sees things that young quarterbacks do not see, whether that's before the snap or post-snap. He is very accurate. He is already one of the more accurate quarterbacks in the NFL at all areas of the field. His touch is superb. His ability to put the ball on the money in every area of the football field is almost robotic in a way. And like I said, I think his combination between his mechanics, his accuracy, his vision, and his intelligence is why he is a good football player. What limits him is obviously his physical tools to be able to run. He can run a little, but it's obviously not special. He doesn't have a very strong arm, which I think is limiting him the most at this point. I think his arm is just okay. And if he did have a better arm, I think he would actually become an elite quarterback at some point. But I do think he needs to improve that arm strength for him to ever become where Tom Brady was eventually in his career as a player. But Mac is the truth as a rookie. and I think is only getting better. And I think some of those rookie inconsistencies that might phase out of his game will make him a better, more consistent player. And I actually felt like something that I thought he really responded well to as a rookie was pressure. And he has a little bit of an it factor to rise to the occasion when the opportunity comes for him to rise to the occasion. He certainly thrives under pressure, and he feels like a guy that wants to get better. So Mac Jones is average, but almost in that Tannehill category. Pretty good, I would call him. Kyler Murray is next. Kyler Murray, I'm only going to put him in the good category. This might be a little bit surprising to some people, but I think that Kyler Murray is... I like him. Physically, he's got a great arm. He's very quick and fast, and he's probably the second best runner in the NFL at this position. So that's the things that he does really well. He can throw basically anything. But there's a few things that I don't like about Kyler Murray. So one is, and I know this is kind of weird to say, but he's small. Kyler Murray is small. So sometimes he really just can't see the middle of the field. And a lot of the times he's the least successful throwing the ball over the middle of the field when he has pressure in his face. And I've seen it too many times where if pressure gets to him, he almost folds in a way, especially what we saw in that playoff game versus the Rams. He could become very visually frustrated, and I think that carries over to his team. I think the way he carries himself and his leadership skills do need to get better. I think if he wants to truly become a great quarterback, I think these things need to get better. I do think, though, like I said, like physically he's really, really good. Like, in terms of his speed and his quickness and his arm strength, it's all there. I think he makes a good amount of touch throws. I do see a little bit of Deshaun Watson where he's a little erratic sometimes with his mechanics, and his accuracy can be off because of it, especially in that intermediate level of the field, which is an area where Kyler Murray has struggled the most, which is weird to say because Kyler Murray... usually great quarterbacks are good in that type of system, in that area of the field. Now, I do give points to Kyler Murray for mostly being the guy in his offense where he has to take most of the load on his shoulders to be good in that offense, to make plays. Because I don't know how good Cliff's offense really is, and I don't know how much of it is just Kyler Murray being special at certain things. But I just see certain areas where he needs to get better that I do deem to be really important. That's why I keep him from being the very good elite categories, because he simply hasn't gotten there yet for me in terms of those areas. So while I do see a lot of the upside and he can play like an elite player at times, he has far too many inconsistent performances on top of the last couple of years having to deal with injuries that have derailed him, which is also something you consider that put him in the good category. Zack Wilson is next. Zack Wilson started off his season last year pretty rough. It was pretty bad. Preseason was really, really good from him, and he was looking like he was going to be a really good rookie quarterback. And then the regular season began, and the offense didn't do him any favors, but he was very erratic. He made terrible decisions. He was forcing the ball way too often. But you could also tell that he physically has a lot of tools that you can work with. His release is nice. He's got a strong arm. He can throw on the move. He can move well. I think he has pretty consistent mechanics throwing the football. And he is fairly accurate when he gets the time. But Zack Wilson improved throughout the course of the season, so especially around that time where they played the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the end of the season. Zack Wilson did get better, and I did see improvement from him in terms of his confidence and in terms of just his ability to play at the speed of the NFL. I think a big problem for Zack coming into the NFL was his level of competition in college was very low and weak. And I think it takes time for even the most physically gifted players to be able to get to that level, and especially in terms of processing. And that's something that Zack will continue to get better at. But I do see Zack as below average. I'm not going to place him in the bad category whatsoever because I think he has a lot of upside. And I love his upside. I think he has a lot of skills and talents that can make him a very good quarterback. It's not like I don't see those things with him. So that is a huge positive. But based on his last year results, I do think you can't put him any higher than below average. So Zack Wilson, below average. I wouldn't be shocked if Zack Wilson had a good year this year. And at the end of the year, we were saying Zack Wilson is a top half quarterback. I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever because I have been a big fan of Zack's game coming from college, and I think eventually he'll get there. Tua is next. And Tua is the guy that obviously I am more so than not known to hate on. If you guys haven't already, make sure you do Gronk spike that like button, because if we get 100 likes on this video, I will be ranking all the skill groups in the NFL. So 100 likes get us tier rankings for the skill groups, which includes wide receiver, running back, tight end for every football team. So make sure to Gronk spike that like button. Now, Tua. He's tough because from a winning games perspective, Tua hasn't been half bad. He's won some football games throughout his young career. He definitely has shown promise in terms of improving from year 1 to year 2. And I think his arm strength improved from year 1 to year 2. His accuracy isn't bad. I think as a short passer, he's solid. I think he makes mostly good decisions. It's tough to really say with him whether he's in the bottom 2 tiers, but I'm not sure exactly where he fits. I really don't want to say he's bad because I don't really think he is bad. But I don't see him with the potential of somebody like Zack Wilson either. So I'm going to say he's below average, but it's like a lesser potential, if that makes sense. So I feel like Tua is never going to be better than average, if that makes sense. I think the best Tua could ever be is average. So, and why I think that is because I think he's just not physically gifted in any regard. And he's not mentally as strong as quarterbacks that, like Mac, I would say. I also don't think he's as consistently accurate as Mac is. I do think Tua, like I said, I like his release. I like his quick passing game ability. Everything else I'm not a fan of. I don't like his arm strength. I don't like his play under pressure. I don't like his mobility that much. I don't like his ability to move around. I really just don't like much about his game. And that's just being completely honest. And I think he's a good guy. Like, he seems like a great guy. I'm not trying to hate on the guy. I'm just being honest with you. I don't think he can ever be better than average. And that's what I promise to be is honest with you. He has had a bad offensive line. That is a fair point. But I don't think he navigates the pocket well. You can see when quarterbacks navigate the pocket well. You can see when they play good under pressure, right? You can see when they're able to overcome that to a certain degree. But Tua has just never, he makes bad decisions when he's forced to make a play. So, and he's never been put in a position to really be the guy that wins them a football game. Every time the Dolphins win a game, it's seemingly not because of Tua. So that's kind of how I see him, is he's at best a Jimmy Garoppolo, and at worst, he's a backup. Like, that's kind of the way I see him. Next, we have Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is one of the top 2 tiers. A lot of people are going to say that Lamar Jackson, and I've made this video already this offseason, is just good. And that's all he is. Personally, I think Lamar Jackson, this one's tough, man. I think he's very good. But I really want to put him in elite. I really do. And this is why. I think Lamar Jackson has like this gamer quality to him where it's just special. Like, I think last year, just look at the Colts game, and I believe the Vikings game was very similar. He just went out there and he just won the game. Like, he just went out there, he carried the team, and he just won the game. But he also does show a lot of inconsistency in terms of passing the ball, which does hold him back from being elite. Now, I do think he's consistently shown progress in that area. But there is a reason why he has yet to cross that stage of being a Super Bowl champion and a Super Bowl quarterback, because when he's a drop back passer, he's just not as good as the other guys. And in terms of my value of a position of the quarterback, you have to be great in that level to be elite. You have to be able to throw 50 times and win the game. Like, even though Lamar is an amazing athlete, a stellar competitor, and a great leader, and a phenomenal playmaker, he just doesn't have that area to that level where I can put him in elite. But he is very, very good. He's very close. You can tell how this pains me not to put him in elite. But this is why he is very good. Okay? Because he is the most unique quarterback in the game in terms of he is his offense from a schematical standpoint, where they design their whole offense, their running game, and everything with Lamar Jackson in mind. And the defenses that face them are stopping Lamar Jackson. Their number one priority is to stop Lamar Jackson. So his ability to be a dual threat is unlike any other quarterback in the NFL, including Kyler Murray. His ability to consistently run the ball 10 to 12 to 15 times a game is very unique, on top of being a good passer, but not a great passer. So the only thing really holding him back from being elite, I just don't value that running ability to the level of being a just amazing passer. So while he is still a pretty good passer, he's just not good enough for me to put him in elite. But his ability to just make plays and be his team is why he's very good. All right. Mitchell Trubisky, as much as I love good old Mitch Trubisky, I got to put him in the bad category. Last time we saw him, it just wasn't pretty. I think he has a lot of skills and talents to be actually a half-decent quarterback. He has a good arm. He's got physical ability to move and run, and we've seen him be a pretty good scrambler in the past. And even on the move, he's not a half-bad player. But when it comes to seeing pressure and also processing defenses, that's where he is just not very good. He's just not very good at seeing pressure. He's not good at recognition of a play pre-snap and post-snap. So really where Mitch Trubisky suffers is his mental game. If he gets better as a mental player, he can be a lot better than this. But I do think that he is bad. All right. Matt Ryan, Natty Ice. He moves from the Atlanta Falcons to the Indianapolis Colts, and all of a sudden everybody loves Matt Ryan. Well, Matt Ryan is, I would say, now this is tough actually. This is tough. This is tough. I could see you putting him in one or two categories. I could see you putting him in good. I could see you putting him in average. I think there are arguments recently for him to be put in average, given his recent success in the NFL with the Atlanta Falcons. Some of his negatives right now are his play under pressure and his arm strength. Those are the two things that come to mind. His mobility is not good, but it's not like it really matters that much for the way that he plays. But why would you put him in good? Well, you would put him in good because he is a mentally sharp quarterback. He He sees the field well. He reads defenses well. He gets the ball to the right receiver very often. He's consistent mechanically and accurate with the football very consistently. He can make all the throws from, I would say, the line of scrimmage to about 20 yards down the field. His real problems are deep ball and tight window throws at this point with his arm strength. So I could see you debating Matt Ryan as an average or a good quarterback. I want to say that on a better team with Indianapolis, that he is good. So I'm going to put him in the good category, and it's because I think his ability as a thinker of the game is definitely underappreciated. And I do think he is one of those quarterbacks, like I said about Tannehill. Tannehill can be exposed when he consistently has to throw 40 times a game. He gets exposed because he doesn't always make the right decisions, and you can tell that he's just not thinking it at the same level. Matt Ryan, even though his physical abilities aren't there as well as they were in the past, he is still able to kind of keep an offense in rhythm, sense the game, and be able to just go like in 2-minute situations and end of the game situations. Matt Ryan still has a very good command of those situations and can kind of pick you apart. So I think Matt Ryan is good. And I think on a better team, he will showcase that. Now, I do think you are warranted if you put him in just average, though. I do not see him being any better than good, which would be like the 11th to 14th best quarterback in the NFL, somewhere in that range, if I were to put numbers on it. Trevor Lawrence is next. This is tough. This is really tough. So this is a similar conversation to Zack Wilson. I think that Trevor Lawrence never showed the upside that Zack Wilson did last year. He never showed me that he was capable of being a good quarterback in this league. At any point throughout the season, I did not see it. Now, maybe I missed something. You can disagree with me. I didn't see it. Now, physically, he has tools. He's got an arm. He's got the legs. He's got the hair. He's got those things. But mentally, he's one of the weakest quarterbacks in the NFL. And on top of that, his mechanics are very, very, very odd and very inconsistent. I honestly think I have to put Trevor Lawrence in the bad tier. If you're asking me who's better, Trubisky or Trevor Lawrence, they're the same player. They both have physical abilities, but they both can't see the field well. They both don't do well under pressure, and they both make erratic decisions. So far what I've seen from Trevor Lawrence is that he has been bad, and he has not showcased the upside that Zack Wilson has, and he's not been as consistent as Tua has. So I can't put him in the below average tier. So even though he is physically superior to somebody like Tua, he has not shown his ability to be better than Tua. Davis Mills. Davis Mills, unfortunately, is bad. And I like Davis Mills. I think he's played admirably. But there's a difference between playing admirably and not and being good, right? Like, you can play encouragingly. If Davis Mills was drafted first overall, would we think that he was good last year? Would we think that he played well last year? Probably not. I guess you could make an argument that he's below average, but I don't really see much in Davis Mills' game that is ever going to make him a starting quarterback consistently. Now, I might be wrong. I'm willing for somebody to prove me wrong there, for him to show me that next year. But, like, kind of statuesque in the pocket, doesn't move. I mean, his arm is like, accuracy is Nothing he does is really impressive to me. I don't think he's not dumb, but I don't think he processes or is as smart as Mac Jones. Like, I don't see that either. Like, I think he played well and admirably. Like that, but again, there's a difference between playing admirably and actually being good or average. So Davis Mills is just bad to me. I'm sorry. I like him, but and I think he can get better, but I just haven't seen maybe enough yet for me to raise his game. Jalen Hurts. And before we get to Jalen Hurts, let's take a look at the YouTube critic for $5. Thank you so much for the $5. He says, I'm just getting in here. How the heck is Justin Herbert an elite quarterback already? Discredit list already. Oh, Justin Herbert is a phenomenal football player. You tell me a flaw in his game and let me know. I don't see many of them. The only flaw I saw is mentally. Sometimes he gets confused, but I think those things will vanish from his game quickly. And even mentally, he's a smart guy. He's just not experienced to the level of some of these other guys. I think Justin Herbert is phenomenal. Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is below average. I think you can argue that he's average. I don't think he's any worse than below average. The reason I would say he's below average is as a passer, he leaves a lot to be desired. A consistent passer. His arm is meh. It's okay. It's not bad. It's not good. I think mechanically it could be better, and I think that would honestly improve his arm strength. I think, though, as a passer, sometimes he doesn't see the full field. He has to run around to see the picture, and that's not a good sign. And as a intermediate deep passer, he is sometimes very off, very inaccurate. But otherwise, I like him as a leader. I like him as a guy. I like him as a runner for sure. I think he has a unique running skill set as he's both fast and kind of physically strong. And he gives you something of a floor with his ability to run and be an asset as a runner in a unique fashion. I think he's one of the true quarterbacks that could take 10 carries a game for a sustained period of time because he's physically built in that way. And he's not a half bad underneath short passer, but definitely in terms of his vision of seeing the field, his vision of processing defensive coverages, and his overall ability to get the ball to his receivers, it's just not very good. And that's why he's only below average. Daniel Jones is also below average. Daniel Jones, I think, has been underrated physically. I think his running ability is actually extremely good. His speed is really there, and he can break away and make plays as a runner. And as a design runner, he can do some damage. I think you're going to see that with Brian Daboll there. I think as a passer, he's actually fairly consistent in terms of his ability to throw the football is there. Like, he can throw it with power. He can throw it with touch. He can make deep passes, intermediate passes, short passes. His biggest thing is holding on to the ball, not trusting his athleticism and being an athlete more often. Sometimes he just hangs in the pocket too long. And then just his processing to be able to make the right decision all the time, to trust his decision making, isn't always there. Sometimes he holds on to the ball and you'll see him get strip sacked because he doesn't just quickly go somewhere with the football. But like, if you were to just say, like, I could see Daniel Jones having one season where he's really, really good because those things are kind of stripped away. If he gets better protection, and he's one of those guys that is allowed to hold on to the ball a little bit more, and he trusts his ability to move around, he could be a better player. I think he's somebody that stays in the pocket too much, even though he doesn't have to with his legs. Like, he could extend plays, but he chooses not to. He chooses to be a pocket quarterback, even though his skill set doesn't always suggest that he has to be. But like, in terms of all the throws and stuff, it's there. Like, it's all there. It's just being able to go out there and execute it hasn't always been there. So that's why you see the inconsistencies from Daniel Jones. I think him being in a better offense with a better O-line will definitely help him, though, and that will probably show his upside. Sam Darnold is bad, flat out terrible. I think Sam Darnold's a good guy. As a quarterback, he has been terrible. His decision making is bad. His vision is horrendous. His ability under pressure is horrific. Now, physically, I like his release. I like his pocket escapability and mobility. And he's kind of accurate, sort of. His arm's okay. It's not great. It's not bad. I just think his brain is just, he's just so erratic. And that's the biggest word. His decision making is bad. So that's why he is bad. Next, you've got Marcus Mariota. And I've seen nothing lately to suggest he's anything but bad. Mariota, best thing he does, he can run. He can run. I don't think he is a bad short passer. He could be accurate, but he doesn't have the arm strength. He doesn't have... Lenny says I'm roasting a guy that looks like me. Yeah. Mariota, I really like him as a backup. I don't like him as a starter. I just think as a passer, kind of like Jalen Hurts, he's just never been good enough. He's never been consistent enough. And he just doesn't have that ability. So as a runner, he gives you a nice floor. And yeah, he's just a backup to me. He's not. Also, something that bugged me when he was a starter was he wouldn't try to make throws. A lot of times he would be too conservative, try to run around and make an easier throw, right? So that's bad. Lenny with the $2 says, if Carr is any less than elite, we riot. Thank you, Lenny, for the $2. Okay, so Derek Carr is elite. No, I'm just kidding. He's not elite. I'm sorry. I want to put him there. I love him, but he's not elite. But I will put Derek Carr in the good tier. I think you could argue he's the best one in this tier. I think you could say that he is. I think he last couple years grown in respect for me, just his ability to go through some adversity. I think he's actually become better off the field as a leader of men. Players seem to kind of respond to him better than they used to. He's accurate passer. He's not the most accurate passer, but he is an accurate passer. He's got a good arm. I wouldn't say it's a great arm. He's got a good release. I wouldn't say it's a great release. Good mobility, not great. Pretty much everything he does is at a good level. I think he has a gamer quality that I respect and I admire. I think he's pretty smart. Overall, he sees pre-snap, I think, the last couple of years a lot better than he used to, and he can kind of determine a defense and determine where he's going to go with the football quicker than most quarterbacks in the game. Post-snap, he reads well. I think he's pretty darn good. He's just not special. There has always been something a little bit missing from Derek Carr's game. And I think some of it has been his play under pressure. I think some of it has been he's been conservative at times in the past where he'll be okay with taking too many checkdowns, stuff like that. But he's a good football player, and I like him a lot. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks. I just can't put him much higher than that. So I think he's kind of like the top of that tier of the good players, but he doesn't have enough physical gifts to be very good, and I don't think he's quite Tom Brady in the mental space. So I would put him in the good. Justin Fields. Justin Fields, I'm going to put in below average. I was not the biggest Justin Fields fan coming out of the draft. I think that he did surprise me in a couple areas. Now, he did also follow through in a couple areas. I think certainly people thought he was a lot more accurate than we saw. I think his processing speed certainly showed up at the NFL level to be a little bit slow. But he's just so physically gifted that it's hard to care about those things when you see him running around and making throws with his cannon of an arm, and he's also fast. So it's going to be interesting to see how he develops. I think he can be a good player, but he's got to be able to get better seeing the game, reading defenses, quickly being able to distribute the football better than he was last year. That's been a problem, but he can get out of his own way because he can run so fast and just get out of pressure so fast that he can kind of avoid some of that slow processing ability. But I'd like to see him in a better offense for his skill set. I'd like to see him run more as a true runner. He does have a pretty big arm to be able to throw the ball down the field. I do think he's kind of, in a way, a little bit Cam Newton-ish, where his mechanics are a little inconsistent, but he can definitely throw it, and can definitely make those plays down the field. But it's a little bit more deliberate and slower, and it takes a little bit more time to get there. So Fields is in the below average category. I think I like him. And I like his potential, but he certainly got a long way to go. Kirk Cousins is good, and there's no debate. He's not average. Stop it. Kirk Cousins is a good football player. He is pretty smart, both before, post, and pre-snap. He's accurate, one of the most accurate passers in the NFL. He's really good within a system. He's one of the best at staying within that system and making those plays, which is why some coaches really, really love him and adore him. He's also statistically extremely productive year after year after year. And when you're that productive year after year after year, you're better than average. He's also been on multiple teams, multiple systems, with multiple bad offensive lines, different types of teams, and he's been able to thrive. I think Kirk Cousins, though, is too reliant on structure. He is not very good outside of structure. He does not have the gamer quality of some of the other pocket passers. He doesn't have the clutch gene the way that some of these other guys do have because he's so within structure. So when you defeat the offense, you defeat Kirk Cousins, right? And that's my biggest problem with him is he doesn't go above and beyond. And you may ask, like, well, what does Matt Ryan do or Derek Carr do or Tom Brady do? Those pocket passers, they can't move either. Like, they don't run around. Well, one, Cousins doesn't, he can make plays with his arm, but he doesn't make as many plays with his arm as a guy like Tom Brady. He doesn't make as many gamer plays where he's maneuvering the pocket and being able to step up and around pressure. And he doesn't just extend plays, I think, like a Matt Ryan or like a Derek Carr do. And I don't think he rises to the occasion in those moments that these players do. And obviously, that's not even talking about just Kirk Cousins doesn't quite have that ability of understanding the moment and being able to quickly get rid of the ball and protect his offensive line the way somebody like Tom Brady has. But I think a lot of people will look at Cousins and be like, well, what's the big difference? Somebody that doesn't really understand. That's the difference. He's good, and he's good in a good team, and he's good in a good system, and he's good on an average team, but he's just not great in any area, and he doesn't overcome anything. So that's why he's only good. Jared Goff. Jared Goff is below average. I might have hated on Jared Goff a little bit too much in the past, but he's not half bad. Jared Goff has proven that he can be successful on a good team. And I think Jared Goff has a solid arm. I think it's a little bit above average. Doesn't get the credit he deserves. I think he's fairly accurate from the pocket. He's got a little tad mobility than I think people consider. But there are areas where Jared Goff struggles. There's no doubt. I think he's shown to be, I don't love saying this, but He's shown to be a little soft. He can be really, really erratic under pressure, and he doesn't go above and beyond. He's kind of, to me, like a lesser Kirk Cousins. He's just not as consistent at the things that Cousins is good at, and that's kind of the way I look at him. I don't think he's terrible. I actually don't think he's terrible. I think you can win games with Jared Goff because he has enough ability as a pure passer to be able to put you in position to succeed. So that's why I put Jared Goff at below average. Drew Lock, as much as I love him and his dance moves, he is bad. There is no doubt about it. There is no way around it. Drew Lock is bad. I think he's swaggy. I think I love his confidence. I love him. But, man, has he stunk up the joint on numerous occasions. From his just absolutely boneheaded play to just throwing nonsense into the middle of the field. And, you know, he'll do something good. Like, he's one of those guys, he'll like break a sack and like run to the right and look for a play down the field, and then he'll throw it right to the defense. And you're like, what are you doing, Drew Lock? And then the next play, he'll throw like a 40-yard laser. And then the next play, he'll throw it 40 yards over the guy's head. So the biggest way to say about Drew Lock is he's just super inconsistent. Even though he does have some skills that I think would be elite, like he does have skills that would suggest he can start in this league. He just can't put it together. And I think especially mentally, he's just not at the NFL starting level. Trey Lance, this might be a hot take. He is bad. I have seen nothing from Trey Lance to suggest he's anywhere better than bad. Niners fans are going to hate me for this, but preseason, didn't like it. Regular season, didn't like it. Process is slow. Mechanics are poor. Doesn't throw with accuracy consistently. His arm is unbelievable. He's got a strong arm, and he is physically a specimen. But if you get past his physical attributes, right now, he doesn't do anything well. He won't hold up as a passer. I don't think he's special enough as a runner to warrant it. So I think that Trey Lance is bad right now. Does that mean he can't get better? No, he can get much better, and I think he will get better. But yeah, he's bad. I have never been a fan of him from the draft process, and I have not liked anything I have seen from him in the NFL. So until he proves me wrong, then I'm just being honest. He probably will get better. And if he plays, he'll play in the best offense in the NFL in terms of scheme. So it will make him better. But I haven't seen anything. So for now, he's bad. He's raw. That's the best way to put it. Matthew Stafford is very good. Matthew Stafford has always been very good, although people have denied it. He is still got a cannon for an arm. He still has one of the best arms in the NFL. He's still great at throwing from a multitude of different angles and platforms. He is one of the best pocket passers in the NFL. I think if you were to talk about pocket passers, the best guys in the NFL are Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Matthew Stafford, and Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow. Those are the best. Matthew Stafford could put the ball on the money all over the field, although he isn't as accurate as I would say somebody like Rodgers or Brady. He's willing to make throws that a lot of quarterbacks aren't willing to make because of his arm strength. Because he can make those throws. And he can make all the throws. All over the field. Deep, intermediate, short. He's a really good intermediate thrower. Especially in the middle of the field. And he's clutch. I mean, every single time. 2 minutes left, 1 minute left, 34 seconds left. He'll be able to go out there and make 3 or 4 throws, 3 or 4 plays, and make it. He can extend just a little bit to be able to make some plays, especially within the pocket to maneuver and make plays. I think he does a great job at maneuvering the pocket with his eyes down the field, although he He doesn't move the way he did like as a rookie or anything like that coming out of Georgia, where he was actually quite athletic. I don't think people realize that, but he's still really good at that area. And I just think he's proven that he is a winner, and I don't think anyone can take that away from him. And I think he's proven he's clutch, and I think he's proven he is pretty much everything you want from a quarterback. I don't think, though, I will say, I definitely think Matthew Stafford benefits from playing in LA for one huge reason. Not only is their team good, and they've got a great coach, but I don't think Matthew Stafford is like a phenomenal leader. I think a problem with him has been in Detroit in such a bad situation. He was not really capable of just being like, everybody jump on my back and let's go. Like, I think Stafford is a gamer and he's clutch, but I don't think he has that like aura where it's just like, let's go. I'm the man and you know it, and we're going to win all these games. Like, I don't think he has that trait to him. So that's something that I've never really talked about with Stafford that I do think is slightly missing from him personality-wise, but I don't think that's really a huge factor, to be honest with you. So I put him in the very good tier. Josh Allen is absolutely, positively elite. Josh Allen is phenomenal. I've said this so many times, and I've been a Josh Allen guy since his rookie year, since his draft year, when I had him as my number one quarterback in that draft class. And boy, am I happy I did, because he's arguably the best in the game right now. His arm is the best I've ever seen in my life. His arm strength is unbelievable. His accuracy is deceptively good, because I don't think a lot of people really usually put accuracy and arm strength together. I think a lot of times it's arm strength or accuracy, not both. But Allen has a good balance of both. I mean, obviously his arm is ridiculous, but his accuracy is very solid and consistent. His mechanics over the last couple of years have just grown exponentially. His pocket presence, I think, as a pocket passer is very strong and has only gotten better. I think especially at the end of last year, he showed how good he can be just operating from the pocket. On top of that, he can extend plays outside of the pocket and make throws from every platform and every angle. Left, right, center, it doesn't matter. He's good with with no running game. He can win games. He can be your running game with his physical traits to run the ball. He is huge. He can be good under pressure. He doesn't get fazed by pressure. He helps his offensive line not by getting rid of the football, by simply not being able to get sacked. So he's just really, really awesome in almost every way imaginable. Josh Allen's arguably the best in the NFL. Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston, I would say, is below average, although I would probably put him at the top of the below average, like closer to the top of the below average tier. I think he's kind of weird, because on one side, he's shown that he can be successful as a guy that doesn't really force the football down the field. With the Saints, he was very conservative, but we've never seen him find the happy balance of being somewhat aggressive and somewhat conservative. I feel like his whole game has been one or the other. In Tampa Bay, he was super aggressive and it backfired with a lot of interceptions. In New Orleans, he was super conservative and he never really made a ton of throws. I think that Jameis is just okay. His mechanics, they're a little inconsistent. I think his arm is pretty strong. His accuracy is, I would say, a little bit below average. His deep ball, intermediate ball is pretty good. His short passing is a little erratic. His sense under pressure, he's actually quite good at sensing pressure and being able to throw the ball under pressure. That's always been something that I've liked about Jameis, but sometimes he can hold on to the ball too long. So I think he's below average. I don't think he gets the credit that he deserves. I definitely think he's better than most people think, but I don't think he's somebody that I would necessarily go out there and say, yeah, Jameis is my quarterback. Okay, Baker Mayfield is next. Baker Mayfield is... This one's tough, actually. Baker Mayfield is below average. I think he's sort of similar to Jameis, I guess, but not really. Baker is tough because he's coming off of an injury where I don't know how much that impacted him, and he was in a really good situation when he played his best football 2 years ago, right? He had a great offensive line. He had a great running game. Now, his receiving core, could be better. I think Baker has a really good arm. I think Baker can make pretty much all the throws, but he is inaccurate more so than I would like from somebody that is mostly a pocket passer. Although he does have a tad bit of mobility to be able to move and escape and make plays. He has shown a track record of more success than pretty much everybody on the bottom tier. And I do think there are good and bad to his personality. I think his personality can be good in certain times where he can kind of be like, yeah, I'm the man, like this is good. It's gonna get your team behind you. And then when it's not going well, it's gonna be the opposite of that. It's gonna be like, what the heck, Baker? Like, stop making commercials and stuff like that. But he's shown a track record of success in the NFL. He's shown that he can succeed. And I'm still going back to 2020 and saying I was impressed by that season. I was impressed by how he developed as a drop back passer. I was impressed by how he became, a product of that play action game and was successful within it. And actually, this is a hot take for me with Baker, but I think he would be better in a system that allowed him to be more of a quick decision maker and a quick get rid of the ball player. Like, if he was allowed to be in a system where it was more of that empty sets and just getting out there and throwing the football, kind of like he was at Oklahoma, I think he would actually succeed more than in a system like the Browns had, where it's a lot of big play-oriented passing game. So I think Baker is solid, below average. I would still look at him as a starting quarterback at this point. But certainly decision-making, erratic accuracy, shaky confidence, things like this that I feel like have been, and maybe potentially off-the-field stuff that has been holding him back. Also, the fact that he's just small, and that does also hurt him a little bit. So Baker is below average. Joe Burrow is very good. Joe Burrow is a very good player. I think that he's not quite elite, although he has moments where he's shown that he can carry a team and be elite. I don't think he's shown it quite consistently enough. I think a lot of people get caught up in the persona and the storylines and like just Joe Chill and all that stuff. Like, everybody loves swaggy Burrow and all that, sunglasses. Like, I think a lot of it was kind of propaganda, but he is really good. He's extremely accurate. He's one of the most accurate passers in the NFL. He's extremely calm, and he makes everybody around him better. I think he's really good at being able to play under pressure, although he does invite pressure, right? He does invite pressure. A lot of the times people are like, oh, Joe Burrow has a terrible offensive line. Well, stop holding on the ball for 4 seconds, and maybe you'll be able to do a better job at that. So that's something he needs to improve. But he's one of those guys that doesn't really care about punishment. He actually invites it. He likes it. So that's something that I do like about Joe Burrow. I love his swaggy leadership. I love what he's done for Cincinnati. I don't think he has a great arm. And I don't think, like, physically, I do think there are things that are holding him back from being elite. Like, I don't think he has a great arm, and I don't think he's extremely good at escapability. So those are two things that I do think are holding him a little bit back. But in terms of his vision, his accuracy, his leadership, all those things are top notch. And those are things that I love. And I think I'd put him at the top of this tier, or very close to it. He's very close to it. Yeah, I just think he's very good, but not elite. Carson Wentz is below average. I don't think I could put him any higher than that. I think he's similar to Baker Mayfield. He has good moments. He has bad moments. He's inconsistent. He's erratic. We know that he holds on the ball way too freaking long. He thinks he's a warrior, and he just gets beat up a lot. He does, though. I mean, last year, he won quite a few games. Like, he can make the plays. Like, he can make the throws. And he can run a little bit. He is almost tough for his own good. Like, he'll try to make some suicidal plays in a way where it's like, what are you doing, Carson? But sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, like as a part of a good system with a good team around him, he can be productive and he can be successful and he can win you games. It's just when you force him to be that guy and you force him to be the show, he doesn't have that. He can't do it, and he won't be able to do it. And that's why I view him as Baker Mayfield-ish in that same tier. To go back to Joe Burrow a little bit, Samuel says Swaggy Burrow had the most 30-yard passes. I do want to say that I think a big reason for why he has been so successful, I think he is a top-tier distributor. I think a big thing that helps him is he has an absolutely ridiculous receiving core. So I don't know how successful Joe Burrow would be. Let's say we swap places with Herbert and Burrow. A lot of people are mad that I have Herbert above Burrow. I'm not sure that Herbert would not be better than Burrow. I'm not sure. I do personally like Herbert more than Burrow. That's just my opinion, though. I just think he does more things at a higher rate. And I think they're pretty similar in almost every facet other than just their physical tools. Herbert is just better. Dak Prescott. This might be a little bit surprising. He's good. He's not any better than that. I think Dak Prescott, I've really loved moments from him, but I've also not. Like, I thought his game versus my team, New England, was phenomenal. That was one of the best games I've ever seen him play. His ability to move around and make throws and his accuracy. I really like Dak Prescott as a off the field guy. Seems like a really good guy. Seems like a leader. He's pretty accurate from the pocket. He's got a good toughness. He's a strong athlete from that standpoint. I don't think his arm is great. I think it's good. I wouldn't put it in that. I think it's pretty similar to Joe Burrow. Honestly, like, him and Joe are a little bit similar. I think Joe kind of has like more intangibles in a way, and better vision. I think Dak is less of that gamer quality, vision down the field, extending, making plays. But Dak is really good at, like, from the pocket, just consistent mechanics, like see target, throw target, perfect throw. Like, he's really gotten to it. He's a really good rhythm passer. He's, I think, shown his value the last couple of years where they went from no Dak to Dak, and it really showed how good he is. So I think Dak has just never really truly been able to take that next step to being elite. He's had moments of it. He's had stretches, months, so to speak, but he's never been consistently very good or elite. But he's always been good, and he's just never been able to overcome that or outdo that or surpass that. Aaron Rodgers, as much as he can be a little bit of a you-know-what off the field, he's elite. He's a great player. He's a back-to-back MVP. He's still got all the passing ability in the world, touch, accuracy, mechanics, consistency, release. Mentally, he's very sharp. There's things that I don't like about him. His pocket presence is really good. His ability to overcome bad offensive lines is certainly there. And his ability to do more with less is really there. Most of his flaws come from just who he is as a person. His personality is definitely hurting him. I think his leadership skills are definitely questionable. I think his just selfishness is certainly questionable. I think he cares too much about his touchdown interception ratio. I know that's a Colin Cowherd thing to say, but that's certainly real. I mean, there's times where he just doesn't make a lot of throws. And he doesn't force the ball to make throws. He throws the ball away instead. But for the most part, these things are nitpicks. He's an amazing player. He's just not Tom Brady. He's an amazing player. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks ever to live. He's just not the greatest of all time. So that's Aaron Rodgers. He is elite. Patrick Mahomes is elite. He's the last one on the list. Patrick Mahomes is elite. Now, I will say that Patrick Mahomes has shown... Last year, I thought he showed more flaws in his game than he's ever shown. I thought he showed more inconsistencies in his game than he's ever shown. In terms of his vision, reading a defense, processing a defense, getting rid of the football, being able to just take a check down. Just take the check down. Take the open guy. But as a playmaker, he's phenomenal. As a thrower of the football, he's phenomenal. His accuracy... When his mechanics are there. See, last year he had problems with his mechanics. He was a little bit inaccurate, but he was there in terms of his ability to, when he's on, and he's unstoppable. He's somebody that thrives off of his post-snap ability more so than his pre-snap ability. And that's really where you get Patrick Mahomes. But yeah, his arm angles, his arm strength, his ability to thread the ball through multiple different tough places and defenders and like everywhere on the field is phenomenal. So there's a lot that's been said about Mahomes. He's also pretty darn clutch. I will give him that. He's a gamer. He's somebody that I think makes people around him better. What else can I say about Mahomes? He's got a really good, almost back-breaking ability to scramble, where like if everything else isn't there, he can like back-break you with his ability to run. So even though he runs very strangely. So those are my tiers. I'm not going to put them in order because I just feel like I'm going to do that for my quarterback rankings when I rank the starting quarterbacks from 1 to 32. That's when I'll order everybody. And this could certainly change, especially the top 2 tiers, I feel like, will change over time. And my specific order for them will change over time. And as you can see, I specifically look at the top 2 tiers. We have some phenomenal quarterbacks in this league. Some really, really good quarterbacks in this league. We also have some bad ones, but a lot of good ones. Even some of the bad ones or below average ones have had success. So those are my quarterback tiers, guys. As I said, though, 100 likes, if we get to 100 likes, so don't forget to Gronk spike that like button. 100 likes will get my skill position rankings for every team in the NFL. So considering the running backs, the wide receivers, and the tight ends for every single team, I will put them from 1 to 32, from elite to bad. So make sure that you Gronk spike that like button for the next tier ranking video. Appreciate everybody watching. Appreciate all the support. And thank you guys for continuing to come to these tier rankings. We will have a lot more throughout the rest of the offseason. And I will order my quarterbacks once we get to real ranking season later on in the offseason. It's Mitch. Thanks for watching. Peace.